Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to welcome all of you back to another Dark Souls 3 OST. And as we're starting to wind down with this game as well, it's also probably a best time that, from again, maybe a more of a story perspective, we took a look at probably the best Lord of Cinder yet, and that is in the form of Yhorm the Giant. Now, what's a fantastic realization when it comes to Yhorm is that if you know anything about how giants are treated in the Dark Souls trilogy, they go from just being simple-minded workers to beings driven to the point of extinction to downright treated as nothing more than just wild animals, just to be kept under control in whatever capacity. They are just basically just brutes who are just hired or just kept enough alive just for the sake of getting rid of any problems. You can see these in things like Cathedral of the Deep and as you go through the Irithyll dungeons. Yhorm, however, seems to have gotten a pretty good end of the deal when he became a Lord of Cinder. Now, the story for Yhorm pretty much goes along the lines of he found his way into the profane capital, and when he was elected to rise above others as a Lord of Cinder, the people he was meant to be watching over rejected his status, and well, the profane capital is sort of how we come to find it. Everybody is sort of ashified. What's the word, like when people become like all consumed by like magma and stuff like that? But you can see basically corpses of people standing in place, fighting amongst each other, all probably under the gaze of the profaned flame, which was something that Pontiff Sullivan took quite an special interest in. But he didn't really seem to take much interest in Yhorm's affairs. Pontiff was almost particularly keen just to leave Yhorm alone. So almost among all of the giants that have come and gone in Dark Souls, Yhorm appears to be one of the very few who has actually risen above the status of almost a slave compared to his kind. But speaking of kind, only one real human decides that he actually sees some value and sees Yhorm as a lot more than just someone to be bullied and to be used as a means to an end. That in the form of, is it Sigward or Sigmire? But you know, basically his Sigward, he's basically the Onion Knight for Dark Souls 3, and if you've ever completed the Onion Knight's questline in Dark Souls 3, in which once you enter the battle arena to confront Yhorm, in fact, I may as well just put it on right now, just so that you guys can see. Whoops, what did I do? Okay, here it is. Let me. I swear this keeps happening. It just automatically begins, but I've had a bit to drink tonight, so here it is. So sequel. Well, I'll just let it explain for itself. You see him wielding a storm ruler.
Yhorm, old friend. I, Siegward of the Knights of Katarina, have come to uphold my promise. Let the sun shine upon this Lord of Cinder.
So among many other things that you see happen in this cutscene is that it's really the first time in the whole of in the whole of the trilogy is that you can actually see that a giant actually has a face. Usually they're presented as being very hollow behind their armor. And what's even more again, the story is that Sigward and Yhorm were previously very good friends, and that Sigurd and Yhorm made a promise that if Yhorm would ever like return or like not bother coming back to take his throne in amongst the rest of the lords, then it would be up to Sigurd to kill him by using the Storm Ruler. And well, this is the one Storm Ruler that is gifted to Sigurd, but there is another Storm Ruler which you find literally at the base of Yhorm's throne. It's pretty much known at this point that he specifically left the second Storm Ruler beside his throne, specifically for any human to use to possibly apprehend Yhorm's path of destruction. Because path of destruction it absolutely is, because you may remember is that Yhorm not only uses his butcher blade, but he also at one point carried around an enormous shield that he used to fight, but he's traded that for a notch in order to make his blade even sharper. A subtle hint, because giants are formidable in fighting as well, but Yhorm has a moveset entirely of his own creation. And all of this creates for a suitably gigantic style fight where you see you point your Storm Ruler at his head and you can bring him down to size. But that doesn't mean the scale of what you're fighting is any less grand, as we shall demonstrate right now. It should also be mentioned that that even though you fight quite large bosses before in Dark Souls 3, this is possibly also the first time you've ever fought something that has like a position of a scale of power and of dignity that is quite higher than some other bosses you fought, which, say what you will about how the fight feels like a little bit of a trick fight, and how you don't really defeat him conventionally. You defeat him using a weapon which came all the way from Demon Souls of all places. But it does feel profound a little bit in the fact that, well, the only way you're going to defeat a giant is you bring him down to size. Not that Yhorm goes down easy, though. It is easier if you had Sigurd in this fight with you, but I said easier, not easy. It's definitely, for my money, probably, it might not be the best track for this game, but one thing I absolutely will say on Yhorm's behalf for the defenders of the fight is that it's still it's spectacular from how you just look up and you just have to, and you half feel you're half caught in like a daze of how do you fight, how do you get away. Is it absolutely necessary to like take a hit or two? Because of course when you're dealing with something this size and when he's carrying around a blade the size of a building, you can begin to wonder, am I fighting this thing properly, or am I just sort of completely out of luck? I love the fight for that scale, and for not necessarily the that scale and stuff like that, but it's also for the fact that, again, are we even in the right to do this? Of course, Yhorm is probably grateful, or maybe possibly not, for being brought back, but he doesn't really want to have anything to do with like taking the mantle of Lord of Cinder. He just sort of wants to sit on his throne and just chill and relax in amongst his kingdom, because it should be also worth remembering is the fact that it was so many people who doubted him and absolutely wanted him gone. So is it not right and just to say that maybe Yhorm is a little bit justified for having a slight chip on his shoulder? At least that a Sigurd was willing to uphold his promise, so at least he could count on him, if no one else. And with all that being said and done, I hope all of you guys have enjoyed this reaction to Yhorm the Giant. And I would say that we are really on the closing path now, ladies and gentlemen. There's only really 2 fights I still want to be able to talk about, but we'll wait and see next time, eh? So I hope all of you guys enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.